You see all these red lights? That's a really bad sign. Hello, Nomies. You can probably tell I'm not home. I'm not inside Pearl. No, I am at work. This is my good old studio that you've seen before here on the MT and Me. And yes, I'm here because there's a problem. And it's not got anything to do with computers or anything that's here in my trusty control room that you've seen many times before. Nope, this time we have to go into the next room, which is going to be a little noisy because it's the technical plant. This is where our transmitters are. You can see them behind me and all the monitors. And I want to show you one transmitter in particular that has a problem. This is the KHEH AM 800 transmitter, our sports talk station, okay? And you may be able to see these meters are down. That's not a good sign. Even worse, you see all these red lights? That's a really bad sign. Tells me that something's majorly wrong. The old girl is barely passing sound, just a wee little bit. Not even enough to listen to. And guess whose job it is to try and fix her? Oh yeah. So, let's see what we can tear up, shall we? Well, like all good projects, we start out by turning everything off. And then down here at the bottom, there's one more breaker. And now we get to take the back off and see what's wrong. Maybe. Well, it doesn't look like anything's blown up. Based on what I'm seeing on those trouble lights, my principal suspects would be one of these power output transistors, of which there are a bunch, as you can see, or a set of intermediate ones in what they call a PDM generator, which is what these two boards here are. And the fun thing is, the transistors are located under here, which means that these boards have to come off in order to get to them. That's major surgery, as you can see. I really don't want to get into that unless I have to. I think everything downstairs in the power supply is okay. We have a series of fuses on here. Which I checked the other day, and they were all good. A couple more here and here, and then there's a series on these boards. Each one of these little white things is a fuse. And just like we did on Pearl a few weeks ago, we checked those, and they were all right. And plus, I'm not getting any indication in my troubleshooting lights on the front that there's a fuse problem. Doesn't mean there's not one, but these all checked out okay. Everything's pointing to transistor problems. Like I said, just looking inside, you can't see anything wrong. That means we have to dig a little bit deeper. That means taking a voltmeter. And our first step, I guess, is going to be trying to check some transistors. According to the manual, you can do that with them in the circuit. Now, this is a diagram that shows all of those power transistors right there. And this tells how to test them. It says you can use an ohmmeter, check for a resistance from the case of a transistor across from a fuse. Go from a transistor to the banana jack nearest it. So do kind of, sort of know what they're talking about. So hey, I guess it's time to grab an ohmmeter and see what we can do. Well, a lot of readings, a lot of testing, and I'm not sure if I know much more than I did know as far as which transistors may or may not be good. The readings I'm getting are not what the book says I should be getting, but I am getting some readings. So there could be an imbalance somewhere else in the circuit that's causing things to be off. And like I said, there's a whole set of transistors here on this other side that I really can't get to without completely disassembling the transmitter. So I think what I'm going to do is put the back on, fire back up, and just see what happens. Sometimes simply by observing and testing, you can make a difference. It's a shot in the dark, but hey, if it works, I'll take what I can get. Power's back on. Let's see what happens. We actually have some low readings on the meters, which is good. But are we getting any modulation? This meter says yes, we're getting a little bit. All that remains now is to go see what it sounds like.
Again, 800-781-1815. Message to Derek, man. To San Antonio. Awesome thing. Awesome thing. And we get a lot of mileage out of that for a couple of days.
Okay, well, It's better than it was, but it's still not nearly putting out the kind of power it should or the kind of sound it should. So there's definitely still a big problem that I've got to work on. That's about all I can do for today. Maybe we can get some transistors and do some replacement on those and see if that'll make a difference. And there's a few other checks and balances I can run into, but that's going to require some deeper surgery on the transmitter. And that is for another day. So there you have it. Some more time spent with me at work, which is where I spend more of my time than just about anywhere else, including in good old sweet Pearl, which I would love to give some more attention to, and maybe we can get around to that tomorrow. Let's hope so. I do want to take just a few minutes to talk about working here in Pearl, returning back to our ceiling braces that we were talking about in the last video. First of all, this is still holding. I have a single 2x going all the way across from one side frame to the other, right on the top of the walls. And then I have this one little piece of 2x right here that's actually pushing up against part of the metal framework, holding it in place. Well, that's not nearly enough. I mean, that's no kind of bracing at all, but it has shown me that this has the potential to work. It can hold the weight, and it will be able to hold the ceiling where I want it to be, which is getting rid of the sag in the middle and actually maybe pushing it up to a little bit of a curvature so that we get some drainage, you know. If I don't get the curvature, well, I'll consider myself even by supporting the ceiling, okay? But I have another idea I want to throw by you here, and once again, we're not going to do a lot of work because the heat wave goes on, as the song was, a Glenn Fry song, the heat is on, da, 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 da. Yeah, well, it's on, baby. And all next week, it's supposed to be 100 or higher here in the Mid-South. I can hardly wait. Yeah. Anyway, we're out here today to try and get a little bit done before it gets too hot. And I just want to show you some things. I promised you some discussion on this, and over the week I heard from my gnome Glenn and talked to Reese some, and even talked with a couple of other people about, you know, a few ideas here on what we could do with this ceiling. And I think we've settled on an approach that I'm really going to try, and I want to show you what we're going to do. Basically, we're going to make the maximum use of this shelving that I showed you last week. This is, of course, the top frame. This is where the framing on the top comes down and fastens, is welded into another piece that on the top of the wall we have yet another piece of welding that fits inside it. It's kind of an L bracket. And so all this together forms the top of the wall and the main top frame of the entire RV box, okay? But it leaves us this convenient little one, it's an inch and a half, it's about that much, shelf all along the top of the wall. Well, guess what fits there very well? A 2x4. Now, we'll have to figure out a way to fasten it there, obviously, but we could even, you know, hard screw into this framing. Just something to hold it in place is all that's necessary. Now, what that is, this is giving us this same elevation right here, except it's on the side. So, we take another 2x4 and we set it like this. And it all falls down because it's not secured. How about that? Let's try that again. Okay. here's the thing. We're going to set the 2x4 right here on top, and against the top, it will have to be contoured on the edge here because of this curve. Now this 2x has a bit of a cutout on the end of it, so that's actually giving, you know, a little bit of a break there. You can see what I mean. Now the advantage here, twofold. One, it gets a solid beam all the way across once we have it cut to contour. That's good. So I get solid support against the metal beams. Secondly, it raises that ceiling level. From our other 2x over here that I put in last week, this one is going to be 3.5 inches higher. So if I stand here, look how much room I have overhead. I like that, because I am just claustrophobic enough that really low ceiling would have gotten to me eventually. If you've seen past videos, you know how I am about small spaces. That caused the whole cancellation of the tiny house project. And now here I am building an even smaller space to live in. Isn't psychology a strange thing? Oh well, anyway, I hope you see my idea here, what I'm talking about. And I had this thought myself, and then Glenn suggested it, and I thought, well, two great minds here. We should give it a shot. So that's exactly what we're going to do. Like I said, it's going to take some careful measurement and some careful trimming on the 2x's, and then we'll have to secure these alongside. The first thing is, it's going to take a lot more 2x4s than I have. All of this stuff I'm working with is just scrap. It's stuff that I had in the workshop, but none of it's the right length. Most of it's not long enough to be used. I'm going to have to get some good quality 2x4s to work with. But I do need to make all my measurements and get a guide to work by. Now, somewhere, either in that workshop or in my Connex building, there is at least one and maybe more panels that came out of Pearl. When Rhea and I took Pearl apart on the inside, we were very careful at her suggestion. I have to give her credit for this. She said, save this, we might need it. And it is the pieces of cabinets, a piece of the wall for the closet, and also the wall where the refrigerator cabinet was. Pieces like that actually went against this curve, and that piece is already cut to that curve. It would be the perfect guide to put against the end of a 2x4 and cut that curve, okay? All I have to do is find them. Some of you may understand what a challenge that could be. Maybe I'll get lucky. But anyway, the other idea that I want to share with you today has to do with the ceiling, actually the roof itself. And I got to give Glenn credit for this. As a way to support these panels, that's just aluminum panels, and there's no support under them. So like I said, you can't walk on this roof because you find yourself trying to carefully pick where the beams are, and even then the beams give with you. So it's kind of worrisome. But he came up with what I consider a really good idea to add a little extra support. It involves the creative use of mechanics wire, also known as baling wire in some circles. Here's the idea. We secure wire to one end. This is just the front, random thought. Secure it to this front line. Go under these beams here, like my finger is, and go all the way down the ceiling to the very end. Now, you do that about every 3 or 4 inches going across. So you have wires spaced about this far, and you get them taut. You pull them as tight as you can. Now, when you come along and put in these braces I'm talking about and push up on the ceiling, that's going to make them even tighter. So you get it absolutely as tight as possible, and then you'll tighten it some more. And we're dealing with, like I said, it's mechanics wire, baling wire. This stuff is a tension. It's not going to break. All right, it's not going to break. So, so this is going to add a lot of extra support under these aluminum panels. And with the wires spaced just 3 or 4 inches apart, it will add a lot of vertical support. More than you'd think so. Actually, you're thinking, well, putting wire under there, that's not going to do much good. You'd be surprised. So Glenn told me he's got several tarps that are supported that way, and it's amazing. It's just like having a roof. So I'm definitely going to give it a try. Order some mechanics wire and see what we can do about that, because all of that will have to be done before I put these braces in. And so there's a bit of a procedure to follow here, but I wanted to give you an update. Those are the ideas we're working with, and I'm still curious about what you think about them. Even if you just say, hey, good idea, go for it. Please let me know in the comments below, and if you have any additional thoughts on these ideas or any other ideas to give it a shot, let me know. I'm open to any and all suggestions. Everything will be considered. I'm not going to say I'll follow it, but I'll consider it, okay? Because I want to know what my community thinks about what we're doing here on Pearl. And you guys, overall, have a lot more knowledge than I do. I acknowledge that. I acknowledge that you have the knowledge. Yeah, okay, that works. And hopefully all of this will work. I can't say, and we'll find out at some point in the not too distant future here on the MT and Me. But for now, we are going to be out of here for the day. It's starting to heat up. I'm starting to heat up, and that's my cue to get inside and cool off. So, thank you for coming along this week for the ride. Like I said, leave your comments below about what you think about these latest ideas as we work on supporting the roof of Pearl. We get that support up, we get her all firmed up and ready to go, and then the next step will be to recoat the top and get rid of all those leaks. Or rid of them, that might work too. Anyway, as you can see, the heat's getting to my brain. I need to get out of here. I love you, my nomies. Give me a thumbs up on this. Let's YouTube know that you're watching, and they'll recommend it to other people. Of course, if you haven't subscribed, please do so. Hey, 2-3 more 165, I think, subscribers last time I looked. They keep crawling up. Please click that subscribe and become a member of our team here on the MT and Me. We'd love to have you along. Okay, like and share. Join us every Sunday morning. And if you are in this ridiculous, dangerous heat, you take it easy. That's all I can say. Be cool, baby. Be cool. Literally. Till next time around, I'm Russ. Sweating it off. We'll talk later.